Hi, Tiny. How are you?
Hi, Jesse. I'm really good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. I'm super excited to have you in another episode of the Baddie In Me. And you are one of the girlies that I admire the most in the space. And so, yeah, super excited to have you. Tell us a bit who you are and how you ended up in Web3.
So I go by Tinyrainboot or Tiny online. I'm an artist and a writer, so a lot of my content that I create is art, either some AI stuff, I do some poetry, short video kinds of things, and also 3D modeling, which I only started learning a year ago, but I find it really fun and rewarding, so I'm trying to get a bit more into that. I got into Web3 around, let's say, 2.5 years ago, and actually pretty much my main onboarding step was getting into Lens and decentralized social networks because I just started showing up there and posting my art. I found that the community was quite supportive and engaging, and I really struggled to build my art account on Instagram and on Lens, for example. I was able to be a lot more successful. I sold my first NFTs there. So it was really exciting, and I was also able to make a lot of friends, such as you, actually, which have developed into such strong IRL friendships. So it's been a really fun experience, and I'm really excited to see how it keeps evolving.
So, you're saying that you started your kind of like Web3 artist journey on Lens. And before that, you were just posting on Instagram. But what were you posting? And would you consider yourself as an artist like before joining Lens? Or is it that Web3 helped you really like become the artist that you are today?
I think it's a bit of a mix of both. So I started this Instagram project around 3 years ago. It kind of started out a bit like a meme page, but then it evolved into this thing I called Internet Diary, which is where I was just posting little kinds of snippets from my day and turning them into artworks. I've always been a super creative person. I've always been really into making art, painting, photography, all those kinds of things, but for me it was hard to see a way that could actually be my life. So I think growing up, we're really sort of funneled into these specific paths. You know, this is what is right for you. This is the way that you can be successful, and those pathways are very narrow. Of course, it depends on the types of people you're exposed to in your childhood. But I really found myself pushed into the sort of standard university track. I went to uni and I studied communications and media studies, which I actually kind of love now because it really comes back with the whole meme craze and everything, because we actually studied memes as part of my course, which was a while ago now. But that was sort of the path that I chose to go down because I thought, yeah, I need to just become a corporate girl and make money, and that's just the way that it's going to be. Art can be my hobby, but it can't be my career. So I think sort of having this outlet, which was my whole journey into Web3 and posting my art there, I started to get to know a lot of people who were actually full time artists or who were artists on the side. And I began to see that perhaps this could also be a pathway for me. So I just started to pursue that. And I actually ended up quitting this pretty intense job I had in traditional finance. I worked there for 3 years. I left that job and actually took a really long break just to focus on Web3 stuff and my art and building up my art portfolio, basically. I do have another sort of semi-corporate job now, but it's in Web3, so it's a little bit different. And I feel like everything kind of came together really well. And right now I'm of course still working on my art and working on new collections for next year. So that will absolutely never leave. That's like a core part of my life now.
Because nowadays it feels like, okay, as an artist in Web3, you don't necessarily need a creator or, an art gallery. You can do things all by yourself, but you kind of need to master some skills, and marketing is one of them for sure. And I think it's like artists are divided in two sides. I feel like some of them enjoy the marketing side of the art that they're making. And some of them don't like it because they think that, okay, as an artist, you just have to focus on your art and you're not supposed to kind of do, the marketing and everything that is like maybe annoying or whatever. So how do you feel about that when it comes to your art? Do you think that is it something that you enjoy doing, or do you think that even in Web3 artists should have like more resources, tools, or whatever that can help them like market themselves?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question because I actually think my relationship with this has changed quite a lot. In the beginning, I did find it quite taxing and exhausting to try and conceive how am I going to market this, especially when you're really small and just starting out. It does take quite a lot of effort to figure out, what's my strategy, how am I going to get people's eyes on this, etc. I do think that as your account grows a bit, it for sure gets easier in the sense that you don't always have to take specific marketing steps, but just you being online and posting and being a personality there also becomes part of the marketing. So I think now I definitely see it as more of a comprehensive thing. But I would say for sure that for artists who are just starting or people who are just getting started in Web3, it would, of course, be amazing to have more resources. I did really struggle with that in the beginning, especially when I was launching proper collections. And I actually worked with a platform for a collection I did, but I didn't really find that they helped me very much with the marketing, and that did end up being quite a struggle. Of course, it depends as well on the market conditions. But for sure, I mean, artists aren't necessarily naturally good at marketing. I have a background in marketing, but it doesn't always mean the same kind of marketing. So it's all, in a lot of ways, just something that you really learn over time just by seeing how other people are doing it and what becomes successful from other people. I think that's probably the main thing. Like, I don't think it's something you can just learn with a course. I think a lot of being in Web3 is about actually really being inside of the culture and being on the beat of what's going on. And with that, you can always find little points that you can sort of pivot off of. Like, there's some big thing that's going on, some meta, and then you just try and grab that rather than trying to go a more traditional marketing way of, oh, okay, these are the steps I'm gonna take. This is when I'm doing this campaign or that, and it has to be a lot more quick paced and evolving.
Yeah, totally. I think what you say is really, really like interesting in the sense that I see visual artists nowadays more like, superstars, like other artists. I mean, in a way, why do you like listening to some type of music, or why do you like this actress or actor more than another one? I think it's not just the skills. Of course, being a great artist is amazing, but I feel like nowadays it's also like people want to know what are your values and what type of persona you are. And if they can relate, they're gonna love you even more. And I think it takes time to find yourself, but as you said, like once you found kind of like your tone and the things that you want to post about, then it becomes like much more natural. And I loved one thing that MP from Lens once said. She said that like shit posting is a form of art. And I think that it's so true. I mean, a couple of years ago, like in 2021, when I entered the space, and I saw some artists shit posting. At first, I was like, "What are they doing? That's like they're rude." And I was thinking a bit like that, but then I was like, "Actually, it's funny." And the fact that they are shit posting is one of the reasons why they have like a big community. Do you like sometimes think of yourself as a shit poster?
I guess I have never applied that label to myself, but I think it does apply in a lot of ways. I think in the last few, even months, I've just gotten a lot more confident and I care a bit less about what people think because that's something that stops you from being a shit poster. If you care too much how people are gonna react, then that can actually really inhibit you. So, yeah, I would say I've gotten a lot more confident about posting my opinions, and I think a lot of that also has to do with having made a lot more connections with other women in the space. I don't feel like I'm just talking to this audience of men that I don't really understand anymore. I feel that I kind of have these other connections, and I know people will support me pretty much no matter what at this point. So that's made a huge difference. And also to go back to what you said, and I think you would see it the same way, but everything that we kind of do in this space is sort of performance art. So that can be creating a persona, that can be just, being really vocal or loud about certain opinions. But when you look at your life as this performance piece, it also helps take away a lot of your nerves around what you should say or how to say things. You can just see it as, oh, it's an artwork. That went that way. Okay, it's fine. Whatever. Move on next.
Yeah, no, you're so right. This is like a way I like to see things, like the performance art thing. I think it is so true because at the end of the day, the persona that we're putting out there on the internet is not 100% who we are. It's maybe an extension of who you are, but it's like much more exaggerated in a more, it depends who, but in a more funny way. Or, I mean, I don't think that Tinyrainboot is exactly the same person online and offline. At
Yeah,
least
it's
that's
also impossible to be because so much of who you are as a person gets stripped away by just, you know, tweeting out your thought or something, that there's so much context that gets removed. So it's kind of just these little fragments of yourself that you can throw out there, and then it just becomes its own kind of animal in its own way, it becomes its own person. And I'm okay with that because I think it's kind of good almost to have this separation in some ways. You get to stay yourself, you get to keep things for yourself, but you also get to be loud and be vocal at the same time.
totally. And actually, I think this is something that I noticed with you. Like, since I met you, I think, as you said, like, at first you were maybe a bit more reserved, but then with time, I think you started like sharing more of your thoughts. And I really love it because you say things that are really important. And I want to mention once when you wrote that small essay about like Zora art, which became a kind of viral somehow. And I think you minted it on Zora as well. And it was about the fact that nowadays, like on platforms like Zora, people just mint art for almost free. And art shouldn't just be something that you give away like that.
Yeah, I mean, I love the irony of that because it was my best performing post on Zora of all time, and it did go micro mini viral on Farcaster. So, yeah, just to give a bit of context, I wrote this blog post just about my frustrations around the gradual move towards the free mint meta, which is essentially where you just have to pay a few cents to mint an artwork from an artist. I struggle with that a bit, and I'm still trying to grapple with how I'm going to move forward with that because I do think in a lot of ways that being in this space, I can't just completely hold back. Like, I need to find some balance. But I also don't feel like it's okay for me to spend, hours and hours on something and then I just, sort of just let it go that easily. And maybe that's just me holding on to the past, like the way that things used to be when we would actually make a bit more money on our art. Even on Zora, I used to make not a lot, but I made some money there, and now I don't really, because in order to actually make anything, you need to become super viral, and it's moving towards this art coin meta where basically you need thousands of mints in order to make any money, and then there's a liquidity pool and all of that. So it's just kind of a different type of art in some ways. And yeah, I don't know if that's suited to the kind of work that I do. I think that works really well for people who make memes or who make art that's intended to go viral. I'm not sure that I want my art to be in that category. So it's I'm still thinking about it and how I want to mint my work going forward, but I've definitely still taken a step back from that.
you're right. Like, if you want to make money, you have to be somehow like famous or have like a huge community, maybe of people who are already minting your art on Zora since like 2022 or whatever.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, sorry, there's one other thing I wanted to say. Sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to say as well that to the point that you mentioned around where you sort of paraphrased me saying that I don't want my work to just be like tapped as though it's an Instagram. I don't want to give it away for free. I think that's just personal to me, and I understand that not everyone sees it that way, and other people have their own approach. I just think that with the work I make, I would rather emphasize people take a bit more time with it. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they need to pay me money for it, but just that I don't want to just necessarily be part of this endless scroll feed of something that people spend less than half of a second looking at.
yeah, I understand. I think that this, I don't know how to define it, but this way of minting art doesn't fit to every artist for sure. I think they should have like, maybe they have, I don't know. I haven't had time to explore Zora so much, but I feel like the only way is to give it for free, or can you put a price on your art?
No, they've taken away all creator controls.
Okay.
And they've also taken away collections. So in the past you could make groups of works and that's gone now as well. I actually ran into one of the Zora devs at DevCon, and we kind of had a bit of discussion where he was like, well, maybe we could, iterate on it and have a Zora Pro, but then there would be no liquidity pools. And I was like, well, I don't care about liquidity pools, so yes, please. And I've even a couple days ago made another post on Farcaster about it, but they're not listening to me, so I don't know. Let's see
I
where it
see.
goes.
Like, what would be your dream platform?
I just want the right to choose. I want to have control over my work, and I want to have control over how it reaches the world. I think, and I guess that's very, yes, that does kind of come from maybe a bygone era, but I put so much time and thought and actual like energy into the things that I make that I would like to be able to control how many iterations of it can be purchased, or how long, if it's going to be an edition, how long is the minting window open? I want to be able to close my contract anytime. I want to be able to actually know who my collectors are as well. So I want to be able to kind of keep those people and know who they are, and maybe in the future also, send them other works or something like that. And I think if there are just thousands of editions, you can't really do that anymore. I mean, you can, but it's not as special. I like to have this sort of special relationship between people who really like my work and myself. Because I think when you find art that you really like and you get this emotional connection with it, that's more meaningful. And those are the kinds of collectors I want to find. So for me, it's okay. Like, not everyone needs to be my collector. I'll just wait until I find those people who like my work. But
Yeah.
my ideal platform would definitely be one that is really customizable. And of course, I could just go and make my own contracts, and do my whole own thing. I'm not really a technical person, but I could find someone to help me. So that is always an option, and that would be a more crypto native or web3 native approach. But I think as well that having these platforms is also great for discovery. So I've found some amazing artists through these platforms, and I'm not fully ready to turn my back and go fully independent either.
And how about having exhibitions in like art galleries? Is this something that interests you? Like, if I understood correctly, like most of your art is digital, but you can still print it. I mean, if someone would ask you to exhibit some of your pieces, you could print them, right? And exhibit them in galleries. Is this something that is in your roadmap? Like, do you want to become an artist who's exhibited in like the biggest galleries in the world?
I don't think it's my dream. I will be happy if it happens, but it's not necessarily something I'm actively working towards right now. I think there's still a lot that I still need to define about my work and the direction I want it to go in. Because I'm kind of playing with a lot of mediums at the moment, and I think I'll slowly figure out which is the direction I actually want to go. So for me, of course, like an exhibition would be amazing. I can think of a lot of interesting ways that you can combine, for example, 3D printing something with some, projected multimedia and just create a cool experience. But I don't think my body of work is big enough for that yet either. So maybe someday, let's see.
Yeah,
I'm also like a very internet native artist, so I don't know. I'm thinking also of other ways that things could be integrated with the 3D and maybe with VR, but I feel like VR is not really at the right point yet. Like I think it still needs a couple of years, but let's see.
but I definitely think that like projecting your art would be so cool. But also you were speaking of being like an internet artist and you always speak about like internet diaries. I think you even have a channel on Farcaster that is called like that, if I'm not wrong. Um, and didn't you have at one point, like you wanted to create a website that is kind of like a bit like Y2K internet girly. Do you still want to do that?
I'm actually working on my new website with a fellow friend from Farcaster. You know her. We're working on it together. It should be done soon. And it was gonna go kind of Y2K. Now it's changed a little bit, but it's still something a little bit more different and fun from what I currently have.
So is it going to be your website with your art, or is it going to be like an experience where you can click on stuff and I don't
It's actually kind of both. So we've integrated some of my 3D things. So there's like some sort of interactive elements. Of course, we're always a bit limited technically, but it should be a fun experience to click through. There's like a little Easter egg you can find, and yeah, it's like kind of pink, kind of fun, and yeah, it also has my different collections there. So all my work is in one place, or most of it.
Okay, that's so exciting. I can't wait to discover
Yeah,
the website.
it should be done like in a few weeks, I think. We've been
Okay.
working on it for 6 weeks or so. For both of us, a lot of things came up, and it's just a side project, so it's not super urgent. But yeah, it'll be out soon.
Yeah, that's so cool. And it's also, I want to bring up again, all the opportunities that we can find on Lens and Farcaster. And I think you mentioned it already. Like, you come on these platforms and you meet people, and then you end up in like groups, and then you end up being like internet friends. Then you meet these people IRL, or then they help you collaborate with them and you create projects, and I feel that that's like really cool. It's something that personally I didn't find before coming in Web3. I think that I know there's a lot of bad sides. Also, I mean, Web3 is not just like paradise. There's a lot of things that I dislike, such as like misogyny, sexism, and all these things. But also, I think that since I came in Web3 is when my career as an artist like kind of exploded. I started making money. I started having like more friends, more collaborations. And do you think that Web3 has helped you like in your overall career?
Yeah, completely. I mean, not just in my career, but also in my personal life, as you said. I think I've always struggled a bit with feeling out of place. I think part of it comes from the fact that where I grew up in the US was very rural, and my mom is European, and we always had these kinds of almost conflicting ideas at home, I think. And that always made me feel a little bit out of place, and I think it's been hard for me to really find my people. I always was when I was in university, for example, people would say, "Oh, you need to network. Networking is everything. Like network." And I was like, "I don't really. There's no one I want to network with. Like, I don't really like feel like this is my jam." And I think being now in this industry, it's really probably the first time in my life that I feel like I've met the right people. That I've met people that I can talk to who have not necessarily always the same mindset about everything, but at least there's kind of this overarching shared culture that I really like and that I feel like I fit into. And as I was saying before, I feel like it's only improving and getting better. There's so many women coming into the space, and that makes me really excited and happy. And in terms of my career, yeah, it's for sure helped me just in the sense that, well, in a lot of senses, but I'm a lot more confident. I'm a lot more self-assured. I know what I can bring to the table. And I've also found a job via this industry. So it's been overall, I would say, good. There's always like ups and downs, of course, but I really do feel like we have this community feeling, and that makes such a difference. There's so many people I chat with on a daily basis now, such as you, who just kind of add to and improve my life because I was always sort of alone and a bit lost and isolated before, and it really does mean everything to have friends and people in your corner.
I can really relate to this because I spend maybe 80% of my time like at home on my computer. And of course, I'm working in the space and I'm working from home alone. So I think it's really nice to find like all these people. And another thing is like the lens girls or even all the girls now, the brunette group that we have, it gives so much confidence because in this kind of space that is so male dominated, I feel like it's important to have girlies that also have your back, but also girlies that are working in the same space. And like before coming to like the topic of the girls, I just want to speak a bit about meme coins because I remember when I started in the space, like meme coins were not like something that was really interesting, at least as an artist point of view. Like everyone was criticizing it because like people were making so much money, they were getting scammed and blah blah blah. But now it feels like meme coins are becoming the art somehow. And so I wanted to have like your point of view on this like meme coin super cycle.
Yeah, so I've been following this super closely. I think we've all seen that for the time being, the meme coins are kind of the NFTs of this cycle, right? Because you have all these people rallying around certain communities. And I think, I mean, I know I've spoken on this before, but I come back a lot to Murad's thesis, which is just around the importance of community and the importance of having cults, almost like these groups that you feel so strongly about and you'll work really hard for and you'll work really hard to sort of lift up. I know cults kind of has a negative connotation, but you can apply it a little bit more broadly. So I think that's a super interesting phenomenon that we see happening now, and it's also of course tied into the broader state of the world. So a lot of people are extremely financially nihilistic. A lot of people feel that life is difficult and they don't see another way out. And that's also leading to this craze of people thinking, well, I just need to make it. I just need to make it and I'll do anything to just try. So it has this really dark side of it. And then also this like amazing, fun, light side of it. It's a really interesting phenomenon. Like there's really two sides of the coin here. So there's the people trying to, throw everything in and gamble on down to their last dollar on, some like insane story. They hope everybody hopes to be the person who bought $7 worth of peanut and now is a millionaire. But obviously that's a very rare case. But then at the same time, with these groups, we have so much of our own kind of lore and fun and communities building. So I think we've seen that really. Oh, sorry, my mic is. I just have to pause it every now and then it goes away. I think we've really seen this week how powerful that can be with the whole launch of Blonde and then how it was followed by Brunette. And we've seen a bunch of girls in the space really rallying together and sort of making meme coins super fun for us and building up our own kind of groups around it. And like we all sort of have skin in the game as well. So it's it's really fun. You just have to be also like careful and cautious and protective of your mental health because it can also completely ruin you, and it's difficult.
Totally. And I think that the launch of Blonde and Brunette is going to change the the space forever, because until now I feel that most of the meme coins were launched sometimes by anonymous people or by influencers that are really famous, or they're just around some, TikTok meme. But now it's like, I mean, blonde, it's like girls that are in the space since a few years and are builders in the space. And that's like something that is really new. And the same for brunette. I feel like somehow it's like maybe one girl or a couple girls who decide to create a coin, and then other girls and boys who join and kind of help them to bring the project further. And what is really interesting is like, okay, many meme coins don't necessarily like have utility or are just like pump and dump projects. But I feel like Blonde and Brunette are projects that are going to be more sustainable because, I mean, the girlies are going to find some collaborations with brands. Probably they're going to be, at events, and who knows, maybe both are going to become like huge brands in like 5 years. I have no idea, but I find it really interesting. And I wanted to ask you, do you think that there was some sort of like drama between blonde and brunette? It's something that I didn't really fully understand. If the blonde team were pissed off about the fact that someone created brunette.
Yeah, sure. I think I can speak on it openly. So, from my understanding, the blonde team was working on this for actually a really long time. So, not just on the actual token itself, but they were working on building up sort of branding and their own very small community. And so, I mean, you can see that their strategy when they already deployed was already quite developed. They have a brand voice. They have this tone. They have um, the right connections to help them. They have a very specific aesthetic, which is all sort of key to being successful with any brand or meme coin project, etc. So I'm not surprised if there was a little bit of animosity, let's say, because when you've been working on something for that long and then you just see someone like kind of launch the beta to it and take away some of your mind share, that can be frustrating for sure.
Mhm.
Um, Especially because, you sort of see how, or maybe the thinking around it, which might not be completely accurate, is like, oh, well, I launched this, but now, half of the attention is going to this other thing, so that's a bit unfortunate. So I do understand it from that perspective, but what I'm really glad about is that Brunette in this case was actually launched by a brunette girl from the sort of same communities, like we all run in the same circles, and I'm glad it was her, and I think that's also why it's, attained so much attention because it wasn't just some random dude trying to capitalize on the hype and being like, well, I'm gonna launch brunette now, which you did see a few redhead or ginger coins going going in that direction. I'm like, I'm personally not interested. I'm not here for a like quick pump and dump or anything like that. I really want to be part of these communities where we're actually building and we're all coming together. And you've seen so many people from the space getting involved and people really who are opinion leaders and who have positions of power in this industry really like weighing in on the whole debate or just being in the chats and hanging out. So it's kind of rather than divide us, I would say it's actually united us in the end. And I think the two brands can completely coexist side by side. And it will be really interesting to see how it all keeps going and how it evolves.
I think that the best thing to do is like to support each other, because it should be a girls thing. At the end of the day, I feel like that's what people are waiting for. Like they just want to see girls like fighting for their project. And I hope that it's not gonna become like that, because I think there's space for everyone. And I mean, you can't control what someone else is going to do. And also, I feel like boys in this case, they don't care if someone would launch like something that is like a bit related, but I feel like as girlies, because we're still like so small in the space, like maybe we're scared that someone else will kind of like steal the light or whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I completely, for one, okay, like two things here. One is that we're all in the same groups and the same chats, and we all hold both of the tokens. So, like, we're kind of, invested in both of these projects doing well. And then the second thing is that if there can be 500 dog coins, why can't there be blonde and brunette? You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of room. There is so much room. And again, we don't need to be fighting. Like there can be both, in my
Well,
opinion.
are you planning of launching your own?
I'm not. I'm like a little bit scared to touch that. I know like the teams who've done these coins are doxxed. But I'm just like honestly a little bit scared because of legal reasons.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like I already would have done it, honestly.
Yeah, but actually, this is really interesting because at the end of the day, I mean, laws are different everywhere. But now on Farcaster, they created Clanker, which is a bot that will immediately like create tokens for anyone who asks. Like you just have to give the name, the ticker, and a picture, and then it just creates meme coins. It's crazy. I never thought in my life that like one day there's going to be a bot and you can just ask him to create a meme coin. Because before it was like, oh, I need a dev to create a smart contract and this and that. And now it just goes so fast. So I wonder, like, on a legal point of view, how does it work for them and how does it work for the user, the person who asks? I think it's so complicated. And I don't know if anyone will ever be able to like put laws on that, anyways. I
Yeah,
DM them.
I think it will take. I mean, we all know like lawyers and legal people are normally few years behind the rest of us in the crypto space, so I don't really think those questions will be clarified for a long time, to be very honest. For now, I just am watching and seeing what happens, but yeah, let's see.
Yeah, let's see for sure. And also, I was really curious about do you have a project or a girly, like a woman led project or a girly that you really, really admire in this space? Like, if you had to choose one.
I mean, it's genuinely you because I've been watching your journey and I'm like really invested in seeing how it goes and like all the things that you're working on. But there's so many. Like also Winnie with Chipped, I think she's been super impressive in the fact that she's been able to get so much attention on her project. I really admire that. She's got the marketing thing down. We can all learn from her. Another one is Reika, who I'm not 100% sure what she actually does, but I run into her a lot at events, and she's also really good at sort of communicating and being great at this whole crypto influencer kind of thing. Who else? Like honestly, I feel like there are so many now. Cyber Shakti, it's been really exciting to see everything that she's been working on. She's also like a Lens OG, so she's been working on her project poster and that's developing as well. I think also there's this app. What is this app? Surreal app. It's also an NFT app. That I'm pretty sure has a woman-led team behind it,
Okay.
which is something cool to watch. And then what else? There's also Shifi, which is cool and bringing a lot of women into the space.
Yeah,
So
Shifa
yeah,
is.
I think with like more thought, I could come up with like a whole list.
Yeah, no, I'm
Uh,
sure. It's really hard when someone just asks you and you're like, I always get like so confused. And I'm like, oh, wait. But yeah, I think Reka, isn't she the founder of Guild, that XYZ?
Yeah,
Or,
I don't think she's at Guild anymore, so I'm not 100% sure what she's doing
okay.
now, but she was at Guild previously, yeah. And she's so well spoken. I really admire that. I
Mhm.
think she's absolutely killing it. So, like, whatever she touches, I feel like will do well.
Okay. I should follow her more closely. I know I follow her on Lens, but that's it. Um, What do you think about the Lens Girls movement? I think people didn't understand the message. They thought that Lens is just for girls, but they didn't understand like more the message that is more towards inclusivity and
Yeah, I think this goes back to the blonde brunette thing where like a lot of these sort of movements are there's a lot of nuance around these movements that I think sometimes goes over a lot of people's heads. It's not like an us versus them. It's just like a we're reclaiming this thing. We want to show that we're here kind of thing. We want to be a bit more vocal. We want to be more present. I think it goes more in that direction. Um, Frankly, I don't understand the Lens versus Farcaster debate. I don't see that there's more women on either platform, frankly. Like, I hang out with super cool women on both of these social networks. Um, I think Lenses for Girls was a cool campaign, and it definitely got a lot more women involved and got a lot more women on Orb in particular. I think it really blew up there. So I don't know. I mean, I'm a proponent of it at the same time because we want to show that we do have these spaces available, and Lenses for Girls was just kind of like, hey, girls, like there are women here and you can come hang out and don't be scared because a lot of people coming into the space are really intimidated.
yeah.
Though at this point, like I don't think you need to be, but at the beginning it is intimidating. It definitely took me at least a year before I kind of knew what was going on, I think. So if we can create these spaces where people feel safe and they feel like they can ask questions and they don't feel like they'll be judged or people will make them feel dumb, then I think it's great. And Lens Girls is just like one of those kinds of cool communities.
Yeah, totally. I think that it really helped, and even girls that were already on the platform, I feel like it helped them to feel again this sense of belonging. Like I see a lot of girlies posting in the club, and I find it really cool. And I think that it could eventually become a brand and we could make it bigger. I was speaking with Diana about that yesterday, and I think it would be so cool to have Lens Girls merch and have that at side events and host some things. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. I think Lens is already known for having amazing merch, so maybe this could
Yeah,
evolve into a
totally.
sub brand.
Yeah. And how do you see yourself in like 5 to 10 years? Who and what do you want to become?
I really want to get to a position in my career and in my life, whether that's in regards to sort of just having more mind share or in regards to financially. I want to get to a position where I can really be an advocate for more young artists or people such as myself who've often been like looking for a different way to approach life. I think that's a message that I want to share, like as somebody who's has like had certain struggles in the past, that there is always kind of a chance for you to change and to take control of your life. And I think being in Web3 has really helped me do that. It's helped me go more in the direction that I want to go. So I think in 5 to 10 years, I really just want to be able to help a lot more people. And I don't know what that will look like yet. But I also definitely want to do more painting and more like physical artwork. I think now I'm really terminally online and I also travel a lot and that's kind of hard. So I hope, in that time period I'll have the possibility to like work more on other kinds of crafts that I like. So yeah, that's what I would see.
How did you like find the idea that you want to start painting? Why? Was it an escape from online?
I mean, I've always painted, even, I don't know, I think when I was like 14, 15, 16. It's always been kind of just a meditation for me, I think.
Okay.
I find it like, I do think that this can kind of be replicated with certain forms of digital art, like digital sculpting. You also can kind of get into this zone and this, like intense focus. But I find with painting, especially because I like to paint with my hands, you're
Okay.
kind of like directly putting yourself onto the paper. And I think that's like a very cathartic process where you can just kind of let go of a lot of emotions. You work through problems in your head, and it's just like this. yeah, meditation or this time that's just you and just you expressing yourself in some way. So I think that's something that is important to foster, and it's a bit difficult when we're all kind of plugged in all the time. So I think it just goes to this sort of slow living kind of thing, which I think a lot of us would like to integrate more into our current lives, which are so hectic.
Yeah, and I come from a background like I studied painting. I'm a painter, and I used to paint like on huge papers, and that was like my job. I did that for so many years, and I loved it. But then, like when I started in the space, I felt like I never had time, and the thing that led me to use AI was exactly that. I felt like it was so not easy to create, but easy to find the time to do it because it was like I can use me journey and I just have to blend some pictures. Okay, it takes me some time to research and to find like all the pictures that I want. But if I want to paint, then I have to buy the paper. I have to find like a nice spot in my house so I can like, have space to paint and not like put paint everywhere. And just like setting up everything would take like 30 minutes. And so at one point I like completely abandoned, but I kind of miss it somehow. I think that it would be nice to start painting again, maybe on like smaller papers, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you can find a little bit of time for yourself to do that, you should. I just think it's good for your mental health. I think that's kind of the darker side of this industry. Because I mean, I'm like pretty upbeat and bubbly, and I'm like, yeah, this is all great. But there is this darker side of it where there's kind of this opportunity cost thing, right? It's like, oh, if I go spend 3 hours on making a painting, that's 3 hours where I'm not like looking at my chats and where I'm not posting online and where I'm not engaging and building my audience, and that's kind of this sort of dark cycle that you can get trapped in sometimes. And finding those activities and making space for them like allows you to escape that for a bit, but then with everything moving so fast, sometimes you're like regretful of that, or you might just get stressed and you can't really enjoy those activities. So I hope we'll find some balance here.
It
But
it
yeah.
is but it's so true what you're saying. Like, if you don't focus on like finding time for yourself in the morning or in the evening or both, you're really gonna get trapped watching your phone all the time and checking like what's happening. I want to ask you, like, if you were sent on an island and you would have to take like only no, one thing, you would have to choose between like long nails or eyeliner. What would you choose, Tiny?
Are the nails like are they like acrylic nails?
Like the ones like chipped that you have to put on your hands like yourself.
Okay, I need to think this through because nails could be used to like I don't know, if there's like fruit or something and I need to like get the peel off of the fruit, I could use nails for that, but they could also really get in the way. So I'm like thinking, like, can I remove them or not? I don't know.
I mean, you
Um,
could remove them, but then you can't put them back if you don't have a clue.
okay, well, I feel like I'm gonna go for the nails and I'm gonna remove them and then I'm gonna like craft it into a knife.
Okay, but that's really cool because you thought about how to use them utility. I would only go for what looks the best. So think I think that you would survive on the island and I would die for sure.
You have no idea how many episodes of Lost I watched. I'm like, really, I've thought about this. I also have like flight anxiety, so whenever I'm flying, I'm like, who are the people with me? And like, what's gonna happen if we all end up on an island together?
Oh no. So my last question is like the most important question of all the questions is Tiny, do you like fries?
I love fries. I even ate fries yesterday for dinner.
Wow.
I've eaten fries with you. You know what? Wait, can I do something? Remember how we were talking about like Misha and fries?
Yeah.
I haven't sent these to you yet. This is a surprise. I went and did a little photo shoot with her.
No. This is so cute.
Wait, there's
Oh,
3
guys.
pictures. I made her hold it on her nose. Okay.
Misha is definitely like the cutest dog of Web3 and soon a superstar as well. So, yeah.
She's gotten a little heavy. She's eaten too many fries yesterday.
Misha.
She's pretty chill. She's pretty like docile. Sometimes I'm like, Misha, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine.
Hi.
She's nothing.
I'm going crazy.